Hello and welcome to my video today. I have a new product that was sent to me from Hansshow. Here is the box. It is a Model T3 Pro. Here's the information label from Hansshow. This is for the Model 3 and Model Y. It's an F888Z-C CarPlay device. And that's everything on the exterior. So let's open it up and check it out. We have a parts list along with some other information, tools required, and also a QR code with the warranty and support information. It says it provides 1-year extended warranty service, so definitely check that out. All right, so what else do we have on here? We have an installation manual and installation video QR codes, also some phone numbers and email, and the standard disclaimers. All right, so on the top of the box here, we have, this is a front bumper camera. This is going to be installed on the front of the car. We have an extension cable for it, plugs right in, and then this goes to inside the car. We'll be going through the front area firewall to do that. Next, we have the power and communication cable. This will be connected to the car's CPU cable, and we're going to be piggybacking onto that. And then we have the cable that provides the data and power to the device itself, and that should be plenty long enough to reach across the dash to the mounting location. And let's see. Let's take the device out of the box. Before we open that up, let's see the remaining items in here. We have another CPU cable and power cable. This is for Intel. This is for AMD. Pick the one that's appropriate for your car. Trim removal tool and a mounting bracket and screws. And that's it in the box. Here is the screen itself. On the back, we have a USB-C port. And here is the wide angle display. We have a piece of protective plastic on it so it stays good for shipping. On the bottom, we have the mounting holes. That goes through the dashboard. Then we have the cables for the power, communication, and camera. But what's neat about this design is, if you notice, the back of the mount has openings for airflow. So your vent air will go through these openings and come out the front right here. So the screen itself is not blocking any airflow, which is a great innovation for these types of screens, because traditionally there have been a lot of complaints that some of the larger screen sizes were blocking the air vents. So here's a view from the side, from the back, the other side. So yeah, that's about it. There's not a whole lot of other accessible things on here. I'm assuming this is a microphone right there. But yeah, that's it. No other buttons or other ports on here. So I am going to install this in the car. So let's get started. All right, here is my 2018 Model 3 long-range rear-wheel drive. The first step we're going to do is to remove some trim pieces on either side of the dashboard. Then we're going to remove the dashboard panel and bring it over to the workbench, and I'll install the new driver screen on it. I'm going to start on the right side. I have to remove this piece and this piece. If you have a newer year Model 3, you may have just one piece and this piece may not exist. So just to let you know. And then this one here, we're going to pop out. And since we're also here, let's get this out too. This piece will pop out. We'll put that aside. And eventually there's more things to remove down here to access underneath, but I'll do that later on in the video. Now I have to do the same thing on the driver's side. At this point, I can loosen the dashboard panel. So you can just pick it up from the front. It will unsnap. So you'll do it on this side and then on the other side. Pull up here. Then pull it towards the rear of the car. And then you just need to angle it out. Here's the dashboard, and this is the opening where the steering wheel column goes through. And this is going to be our guideline for placing the new screen on the actual dashboard. So if we take the screen and look at it, the width of the base here generally matches up with the width of this opening. So what you'll do is you'll just place it so that this will go centered over that opening, and then basically it's going to get installed right here. So what you may want to do is use some blue painter's tape and mark the edges of where this is supposed to go, and then you could route the cables through it. So I'm going to install that now. Now I'm going to place the wires through the openings. So there are several of these vent holes that you can place the actual connectors through. So I'm going to try to line them up like this. Really doesn't matter too much since it's going to be pretty flexible in this area. And then get all the wires in. As you can see this side here a little bit more clearly. I'm just going to pull these all through. And then I'm going to make sure this opening here matches up. And there we go. So we'll just double check the front, make sure it's centered. And it is. Keep holding the screen to the dashboard. And then now you'll see 6 of these holes for the mounts. And what you're going to do is place these metal brackets over it and then insert the 6 screws and attach. You don't want to screw them down too tight because they're only being held in by plastic, and you don't want to strip the threads. All right, so once you get all 6 of these screws in, the display is now firmly attached to the dashboard. And now we can take it and put it back in the car. Back on the passenger side, we're going to remove this door threshold panel, and there is a trim clip right here that we need to remove. So that pops out. Then you can use the trim tool to pop out the entire clip. Once you get this clip out, you'll be able to remove this whole panel right here. So you just lift it up from the rear, pull it, unsnap, and then angle it out and just put it aside. If you're going to be installing the front bumper camera, you're going to need to do this additional step. There is a trim clip right here that you need to remove. Take that one out, and then you're going to just slide the carpet down. And you're doing that so you can access the area behind it. So we're going to be looking in this area over here, and we're going to be opening the hood, and I'll show you the next steps for that camera. Now I'm going to open up the hood, and I have to remove the front tub. Then I have to unsnap the service panel right here, remove that. Also take off the intake for the HVAC. If you have any mats, take those out. There are 5 bolts that you have to remove. When you remove those 5 bolts, then there's going to be 2 screws that are underneath the lock panel right here. Once everything's disconnected, you can gently pull up on the tub around the corners. It will unsnap. Then gently pick it up and place it to the side. Here I am at the front bumper. This is dead center on the front of the car. I had an existing camera here that I used with my older dashboard setup. However, I'm going to be replacing it with the new one. So the nice thing is I know exactly where it needs to go. And I did have the wire for this fished through this opening right here. So the cable for the camera is right in this position right here. I have it to the right of the center, and I fished that through with a fishing tape. For this example, I'm going to use the cable that's on the new camera and attach it to the existing cable right here, and I'm going to pull it through the other way so I get the camera installed. The camera has about a foot of cable, so it's plenty long to get through that opening. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to place the end like this, and I'm going to put some of the gaffer tape over it. Here is the new camera cable attached to the existing, and I am going to feed it through that opening there and pull it out the other side. So I am going to get it started right now, and I'm going to pull the rest of it from the inside. And here we go. We have the end of the cable right here, so I can just pull that in and then take the tape off. All right, so I got these disconnected and I got my cable through here. Now I can connect the wire that goes to inside the car, and I can connect it here. It only goes in one way. And then now I can take this wire and put it through these openings right here. I'm going to zip tie it to the existing cables and route it all the way to the front where there is a firewall grommet. Grab the double-sided tape that is in the kit and then attach it to the bottom of the mount, and it should fit in there exactly. Press it down, make sure it's fully adhered, and then peel off that protective layer. And now I am going to mount it right where the original one was, and it is going to be centered on the front of the car and then press down. And like I mentioned, if you want to make sure it's really attached, you can use the self-tapping screws right here through those two openings. So you'll have the adhesive and the actual screws holding it in. So I am going to let that sit for a while. And then there's a protective piece of plastic over the lens. I can remove that now. And then there are two screws on either end. You could tighten those up once you get your angle correct. And I'll probably do that once I install the dash driver screen first. In this opening right in there, it's hard to see right now, but there is a firewall opening, a little grommet about this big, and there's a rubber cover over it. I already happen to have a wire that's going through that grommet, so I'm just going to attach the new camera cable to that and then pull that through the other direction. If you don't have an existing wire in there, you can use a fishing tape, which is like a long plastic piece that you can wedge through that opening and then come out this side and then attach the wire to it and do it that way. I'm going to now attach the cable together, and it is going to be connected with some gaffer tape, which should keep it connected. And then I am going to pull it through the other side. So now we have the camera wire right here, and we're going to route this underneath this area here, and we're going to tuck it in behind all of this right here. And we're going to move it so that it goes all the way towards this side of the car, and we're going to then route it all the way up this area here. And then we're going to route it behind here, here, and then all the way across. And we're also going to have our other wires along with it for the power and communication of the main unit. And as you can see, I have some of the gaffer tape here to hold the wires down so that they don't move. In order to access the CPU cables, you're going to need to drop down this panel here that's below the glove box. There's a few of these trim clips. You just have to pop those off, and then this comes out. Now that we're done with the camera, we can go ahead with the next section. We have the cable that goes to the CPU of the car. I happen to have the Intel, which only requires this Y adapter or daisy chain connector. And what we're going to do is remove the cable that's connected to the computer, and we're going to attach it right here. And then on this adapter, this will go where the original connector was on the computer. It's super tight in this area here. Make sure that the car is turned off, the power is off, the electrical is off, so that you can remove this cable from the computer. And you have about 5 to 10 minutes to do it, so don't take too long. This needs to be connected to the car as soon as possible. So I'm going to be doing that right now. So I now have the CPU connected with the adapter, and I have the wire now. I will route it up the side here, and I will place it inside the crevices here, and then just kind of place it so that you can route around all the clips. You don't want to be in front of these clips for the dashboard, so those need to stay in place. And what I'll do is I'll place it so that it goes right where I have all this gaffer tape, so it stays out of the way, and just route it all the way to where the screen is going to go. And this is what it should look like with all the wires up by the steering wheel. So we give enough slack that we can attach these to the proper connections on that new driver screen. So I'm at the point now where I can get the dashboard and place it over the HVAC system. Now attach all of the wires. We go blue to blue. Red to red. And then the last one goes to the camera. Make sure these are all snug in place. It's probably not bad to put some more gaffer tape here to keep everything from moving around. I think this is usually a good idea so you don't get any movement. Now let's place it on. Lift up the dashboard. We're going to tuck it underneath, and then we're going to angle it in. Make sure it's centered, and then snap it into place. So now we have the dashboard put back into place. Make sure all the clips are snapped in. Then we can start putting everything back together again, and we are done with the installation. All right, I have it installed now, and here's the first look I've had since I turned the car on. So we have the driver screen right here, and you can see it's basically about the same brightness as the main screen on the Tesla. I think you can adjust the brightness too. I'm going to go through all the settings and show you how to set it up, because right now I don't have it set for my configuration, so I'm going to go through and show you how that works. Since this is a touch screen, you can bring up the menu by sliding your finger on the right side of the screen to the left. We have 4 different options here. We have the instrument interface, we have CarPlay, we have setup, and we have power. So for example, let's go into setup. All right, so here is the main setup menu. I am going to pick my language. It's already set for English. Steering wheel control, I'm going to turn on. I'm going to turn time format to 12 hours. Tire pressure unit, I am going to set to PSI. For AHD, they have on, off, or setting. Let's see. Oh, you can set your resolution here. We are 1080p. Rotation is 0. Brightness, contrast, saturation, frame rate. You can do 30 frames per second. We can do mirror. So yeah, so this is basically all of the camera settings. You can see the camera right now. It's aiming at the front of the garage. So I think pretty much I'm going to keep these settings. So I'm going to save and quit. Last thing I need to do is time zone. I think my time zone is 5. So I set my time zone to GMT -5. So I think I'm pretty good as far as these settings go. Let's go back to the dashboard and see if everything is good. I have 3:37 p.m. Let's see, that is correct. The only thing I don't see is the temperature. I'm not sure. So going back into the menu again, let's go to display. You can pick your car color. I am gray. Car model is Model 3. Here we go. Metric versus Imperial. So I'm going to do Imperial since we are backwards in the United States. Rainbow Road, I'm going to turn off. We're going to do auto appearance and auto brightness. That seems fair. You can always change these for your own liking. Then there is CarPlay and Android Auto. You can do it audio mode, you can do through a HUD or the phone. Speed limit, universal or American. I'm going to pick the American version. And yeah, so I'm going to do CarPlay. And let's see, let's do connect. And let's see what it does. So I can try connecting with my, all right, so I entered my password for my Wi-Fi. And I am connected. You can also connect to Wi-Fi on your phone if you use the hotspot feature on your smartphone. Lastly, let's go down to software, and we have the version of the hardware, MCU, HMI OS, UUID, P-Link, and all that. So I guess it can check and see if there's an update. Interesting. Auto update. So it connected to the Wi-Fi. It got an update off of the internet, and now I'm going to download. All right, it looks like it finished upgrading, and we are now on V.1.45. Interesting. Doing the reboot. All right, we are now set. One thing I must say, this is the first time I've ever had a Hansshow driver screen that updated itself via Wi-Fi. Used to have to do it by USB and downloading it off the Hansshow website. This is so much easier than the original methods I used to have to use for upgrading. So, hats off to Hansshow for making the upgrade process much better now. So that's everything in the setup. If you want to turn the screen off, there's the power right here. Then you can probably just touch anywhere on the screen to turn it back on. All right, so let's talk about this screen itself. You have your car right here, and it's now matching the color of your car, so you can change colors to make sure it's customized. We have the outside temperature here. We have the current time. We have any of the driver telltale symbols up here. So we have our headlights on, parking lights on, and seatbelt warning. Of course, I don't have my seatbelt on right now. Then we have the gear modes over here. So our P, R, and D symbols for park, reverse, neutral, and drive. And we also have the car's battery percentage at 55%. Also at the bottom here, we have the odometer. I have 71,003 miles on it, and I have 155 miles remaining. We have our speedometer right here. So yeah, so pretty cool. I'm guessing this line here is your regen line, so I'll see that when I'm driving. But otherwise, a pretty clean looking display. Has everything you need. Let's go and check some other things out. So let's go into look at CarPlay. And here's the CarPlay setup. All right, so I have my spare phone set up here, and I am going to show you that process. So on the phone itself, I'm going to click on other devices in the Bluetooth settings. So it's BT Link 375A. I'll let that connect. Oh, one thing I forgot to do is let me go into the settings again. Go into wireless. It says I need to turn off the Wi-Fi. Let me turn off Wi-Fi. All right, so Wi-Fi is off. Let me go back into the CarPlay menu. And on my phone now, it says I can connect. So let me press connect. Then I can customize on the phone. I am going to put some apps on here. Actually, I don't have a lot of apps on this backup phone. So you can just see what's on my phone right here. On my normal phone, I have a whole bunch of EV apps that have charging and mapping, for example, like Waze and Google Maps and Apple Maps. So right now, this is just what's on my backup phone. So you can add other apps onto that and configure it on the phone. You can move them around. For example, if I want to put the phone first, I just put the phone first. I can put settings at the end. I can play around with those things. And then I'm going to see, yeah, so that's basically CarPlay on here, which is nice. You have a CarPlay split screen. So you have your dashboard on the right and you got your CarPlay on the left. Pretty normal. You can flick through and go to the different screens. There's a little menu down here. If you want to go to the main menu, there is shortcuts for certain apps on here. Let me add something real quick on this phone. I added a few more apps to my backup phone, so you can see Waze, Google Maps, and SiriusXM. And with that now, I have the ability to go into the other mode here. If I do this, it'll put Google Maps right here and then your other information right here, for example, now playing. So you can do that. You can also scroll to get the apps again. Basically, most of the things you would see with CarPlay on other devices. And if you wish to go back to the main screen, you can slide over here and then just click on this and you got your full screen again. So you can switch in between full screen and CarPlay screen. So if you had Android Auto, you can swap between that. It'll reboot when it switches between CarPlay and Android Auto. So here's some other things I've noticed. When you put the car into gear, it now has this mode here. It'll have a little speed limit here, your miles per hour. Then the car will change its display. It'll now show the TPMS for the tires. I don't have them on right now since I haven't driven the car. So it will populate with the tire pressure after like a couple minutes. So if you use the right steering wheel button and then scroll up or down, you can go through the different modes. So if I press down, it goes into the Android Auto or Apple CarPlay screen. If I do it one more time, it goes back. If I do it a third time, it goes into camera mode. So you can switch the different modes just by using the steering wheel button. I find that if you swipe the screen on the left-hand side here, a speaker comes up, and then you can control volume by pressing up and down, sliding it on the left-hand side right here. I found out also if you slide up in this area here, you can control the brightness of the screen. So you can go all the way down. That's the lowest brightness. And this is medium brightness and about 3/4 brightness. I think that looks pretty good. And it looks pretty comparable to the Tesla screen. Of course, you can go into automatic and have it automatically adjust brightness for you. Before I forget, I want to check out one of the cool features of this screen. I have the fan on, and let's see, is the venting that is right here working? I actually do feel air flowing through here. So air is ducted from the back vent here and it comes out the front. So that's really nice. So one of the problems with these originally was when you installed it, it would block the air vents. And now you had the air vents here on the left and on the right, but you also have built into the mounting vents here. So yeah, that's really cool, and definitely an improvement over the previous versions of these driver displays. All right, so that's the basic overview of the display of using the settings, using the instrument panel, and using CarPlay. You can also turn on the camera when you want to see the front bumper area. Let's go on a test drive and I'll show you what it looks like while I'm driving. All right, let's test out. Let's go to Google Maps and I am going to search for Whole Foods. All right, there we go. Okay, so let's get going. Oh, interesting.
In a quarter mile, turn right onto Ridge Road.
So it seems to go into the camera mode automatically. I did not notice that.
At the light, turn right onto Ridge Road.
As you can see, I have the tire pressure is now showing on the car.
Continue on Ridge Road for 1.5 miles.
So basically the speedometer is a decent size. I like that. The fonts themselves are also a decent size, I must say. Easy to read all of the information on here. That sometimes can be a problem for some of these screens when they have very small print. But yeah, everything on here is very nice, easy to read. Guess I'll switch back into CarPlay. There's also a way to change the split screen so that it's full screen, but I haven't figured that out yet. I have to ask Hansshow. I did not see it in the manual, but there's a way to have the camera and the CarPlay in full screen mode. And right now it's set, I think, default to split screen.
In a quarter mile, turn left.
So here's an example of the camera. You can see that the bumper cam is very handy for seeing where your lines are when you're in a parking lot. One of the big problems with Tesla is that they don't have a bird's eye view or any external cameras that are easy to see for parking. I'm going to test autopilot, and you can see it has the little autopilot symbol on there. Oh yeah, so if you need to touch the steering wheel, there's the blue light that comes up.
You've arrived. Destination is on your left.
All right, that concludes my test drive of the Hansshow F888 driver's touchscreen, and it is pretty impressive. I do like this unit a lot. One of the main new features is that it allows airflow underneath due to the vent design, and the vents on the car go right through the unit and come out the front. So very cool. It also has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, as well as a camera. So lots of cool features on this screen, and also it's touchscreen, so you can access it and use your apps that you like on CarPlay, and it's pretty handy, I think, on trips. In addition, I found out that the over-the-air updates work, and I got my first download, so super handy, much better than downloading from the website and having to load from a flash drive. So yeah, it's a really nice screen. If you're interested in this item, see the link in the video description. I have code RANGER for a discount, and it's also Black Friday specials going on right now, so I think it's worth checking out. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.